welcome again to the Brand Ambassador series. Cognac it is, France of course, Alain Royer with the House of Frapin.
Correct.
Well, Alain, you've got to tell us everything we need to know about Frapin.
The House of Frapin has been transmitted through women all through those generations since 1270. It is absolutely unique. So one of the first particularities of Frapin is that it is a French origin. The name Frapin is totally French. Of course, in 1270, you did not make any cognac yet, but they were making wine. And it's over the centuries when the cognac people started to distill their wine, it came into cognac. Frapin is located in Grande Champagne. Grande Champagne is the first growth. It's the best soil and microclimate for cognac, and they have an enormous estate of about 500 acres in full production in one piece. There's no outsourcing of cognac under the Frapin brand.
That's quite unusual because brands of a certain size would usually source out there the distillates.
Absolutely.
And then age and mature in a certain way and blend.
And then, absolutely. Now, every single drop of Frapin cognac that the consumer tastes in one of those bottles has been produced on the estate. And even more important, there is one of the marks in the Frapin line called Château de Fontpinault. And Château is a very protected name in France. It means that from the grape to the last drop put in the bottle, every operation has taken place on the estate. And that's rare.
But there's something else that's rare when it comes to Fontpinault.
But sustainable is the most reasonable, intelligent way to go.
What do you mean by sustainable when it comes to a cognac vineyard?
Treatments are not systematic. It means that every day you have to go through the vineyards, check the leaves, turn them round, see whether you got those little red spiders, to pick up the berries, see whether they are clean or not. Is there a spot of rot coming up? And then, if there's no other way, you run for a treatment with a copper base or like a bouillie bordelaise or any other treatment. But we only treat at Frapin when it is needed, never too much, and never systematically.
Do you think it makes a difference?
Enormous. And it protects the soils, not on a short-term basis, but on a long-term basis. So sustainability is much preferable to biodynamics. With the climate changes, with global warming, you have to be on the watch all the time.
Global warming is something that we've been hearing lately because the wines themselves are becoming a bit less acidic.
Absolutely, but there's even something more important. When I was a young boy, I remember university started, very late, November or late October. We were in full mid-October to late October in the cognac area. We were in the full grape picking. In 2011, we started to pick up the grapes end of August.
Wow.
Special season, special year, but it is totally unseen. So there, global warming has a direct influence. I would say that normal grape picking should be 15th of September, but that's already 30 years after my young ages.
Are you saying that the cognac, that is the distilled and matured wine, is different now than it was 30 years ago? Because the wine is different?
No. Modern techniques allow you to compensate that. Okay. That's no big problem.
Very good.
Compare it to the wine, to vintages in wine. Nowadays you have less differences between big vintages and quote-unquote lower vintage. In 2007, in one, you had great winemakers, and they compensated a year which 30 years before, 40 years before, would have given a really bad vintages.
Bad, right.
So people conduct vineyards better today, they make wine better today, and they distill better. That's a fact. There's another thing about global warming that you don't know about, or very little people know. It's that we're working on a new grape. And in order to compensate global warming and differences in the climate, we're working on Folignan. And Folignan is a cross between Folle Blanche and Uni Blanc.
And it's been a few years already, so it should come to.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe the first cognacs under the house of Frapin of that Folignan.
We have them. But Frapin, the present generation, works to make cognacs for the next 20 years. And we presently are using cognacs which have been produced by the cellar masters that were at Frapin 20, 30, 40 years ago. So, yes, we have the first wines of Folignan. Yes, we have the first distillates. Yes, they are in barrels. But we need to wait at least 4 to 10 years before saying or giving the validation of what they have become.
And within this world of cognac, there are so many different profiles. Where do you locate the style of Frapin, or maybe the style of Fontpinot itself, I'm not sure, within the world of cognac? Is it light, is it heavy, is it complex, is it quite simple?
I love to make comparison with the wines. I would say Frapin is like a wine from Pauillac or Lafite, for instance, Lafite Rothschild. Frapin has a soil, has a microclimate, which just makes it incredibly soft, mellow, elegant. The cognacs from Frapin are totally politically correct. They never shock. They are easy.
And yet they're complex.
Oh, they have a complexity which goes beyond most of our competitors. But this is also for one reason, because Frapin cognacs are aged longer than most of the others, because we do not do any outsourcing. So while most of the négociants, the big names, have 6 to 7 years inventory, you know, average, that I'm talking about rotation. Frapin, instead of having 6 to 7, has 16 years. Frapin could go on selling that cognac at the present rate for 16 years without turning it dry. That extra ages brings a lot to the final cognac.
But if we start, because we need to taste, if we start with more of an entry level, will the VS or the VSOP show already the style of Frapin that we would find again later on with the extra?
Absolutely. Most of the time, this is the VSOP. I think the VS is a state-of-the-art cognac. It could be compared to a lot of VSOPs because the average age is bigger. And
thank you.
We often propose it like this. A lot of restaurants take VS as a VSOP and propose it as such. And it is a paradox. It's much more difficult to make a blend of younger cognacs than old ones, because old ones, the ingredients, the various lots that you put into the final blend are easy to choose. If you don't want to use this 20-year-old, I'll use this 25. When you go to younger ones, it becomes a little more tricky because you have to round the edges of the youth. You have to be very careful that you don't have too much acidity. The flour and the light vanilla.
It's very flowery. Vanilla, yes, so I assume it's because it picked up a lot from...
It picked up from the wood, there's no...
Wood. But then nothing harsh, nothing spiky. It smells easy.
And it's not a conversation breaker. And that I like this very much. When you are gathering with a few friends, you take a VS or the VSOP, and you can go on sipping along without any problem. You won't be attacked, you won't be hit by the alcohol. It's going to be smooth, elegant, it will have a nice finish.
Smells wonderful.
Plum, apple tart, and the nose of the still, the metallic nose is completely gone.
Alain, no matter what, if you're talking about the VS or the VSOP or the VIPX, XO, the Extra, and all of those, you're talking about the same traditional double distillation in copper pot stills, just like everybody else.
Absolutely, it's mandatory.
So you cannot even try to do anything else. But maybe the shape of the still, what makes it different before it hits the barrel for aging?
The wine is essential.
Okay.
And it's more and more difficult to make perfect wines in the cognac area because of the global warming, because of certain distillation techniques. At Frapin, we distill on the lees.
Okay.
And that is more difficult than distilling without the lees. If you distill without the lees, it will give you a more neutral product. Distilling on the lees gives you the personality. The lees are the expression of the soil, of the terroir. Think about Muscadet sur Lie. If they made this white wine without having the lees by the Loire Valley, by the sea, which it would give something totally neutral. Yeah. The lees gives it the little extra push and personality.
But then it makes it more difficult when you distill on the lees.
Yes. Distilling on the lees involves to be there constantly and to monitor the distilling like if you were making, you were a great chef cooking in your kitchen. And if anything wrong happens, if there's too much heat in the still, it will burn the lees, and then the whole lot is finished. That's and the burning effect is exactly the same one as if you were burning milk in a casserole. Everybody remembers that has happened in your home. You remember the smell in the kitchen, and the casserole can nearly be thrown away, you know. And in our still, it is exactly the same thing. If this happens in the still during distilling season, you just shut down the still for the rest of the period.